Welcome, guys. So this is our first 3x3 Academy value chat. And myself and Ben decided to, we're going over a game from a recent game from the CLB Pro Tour here in Australia. So this is the Alice Springs Centrals versus the Adelaide Pride in the final up in Alice Springs. I'm actually playing number one in the black jersey here for Alice Springs as well. And we figured this would be a really good intro breakdown video because we can watch this game, and what you'll see is the Alice Springs team, we're much more experienced playing with each other. We're only playing with 3 players. We've been playing all weekend in the heat against multiple other teams with 4, and we're able to beat this Adelaide team. Obviously there's maybe a talent discrepancy, but they have some really talented players that you'll see on Adelaide. But it's a good example of why knowing the game in 3x3 is so valuable and how it can benefit you on the court, just knowing how the game moves and little strategic components. So we're going to go through that with you guys without going into like super deep detail. This will be a really good one if you're starting out in 3x3 and just thinking like, okay, what's different about the game? What do I have to adjust about my game to be successful in the sport? So that's what you'll see in today's video. We're not going to stop it too much. We're going to pretty much try and keep the flow of the game going, unless I see something really big that we want to pause for a second, but otherwise we'll try and just communicate in the stoppages, the natural stoppages in the game.
Yeah, my athletes pay extra attention to the one-on-one versus how Alice Springs are going to be playing.
Yeah, so you can see Adelaide got off to a good start there. Like they ran a little action. It's much easier in 3-on-3 to run action, like to be organized when you're running actions, but the difficult thing is in transition. That's where you'll see Adelaide here. They just kind of resort to just one-on-one basketball, as you can see, and they're taking tough mid-range pull-ups. That player that just shot the ball too, you can see my cursor, this guy right here, Yasani. He's a really high-level 5-on-5 player, great athlete, and just really talented overall. So you'll see that, we really try and focus on him on defense. But you also see that he's taking a lot of tough shots and making a lot of tough shots, that if he was playing more within like a natural flow of 3x3, he'd probably get a lot easier looks throughout the course of the game.
There's something to be said about taking those tough shots. Like, there's not that many great players on the World Tour that do it consistently. I mean, there are some, but you can notice how it really comes to hurt his team here.
Yeah, exactly. You can see like there's no movement. What I want you guys to pay attention to is like Levi and Tommy, the other 2 guys on the Centrals, throughout the entire possession where I was guarding one-on-one, they were just standing there relaxing. And that's the main concept. Like when you watch us play, we're involving all the Adelaide players. They all have to play defense. With Adelaide, they're only making one of us actually play defense. And that's what's allowing us to stay in the game, even though we only have 3 players and not gas out.
That was a
So right now the score is 2-2 for both teams.
That was exactly what you just talked about. Guy takes you one-on-one and then just throws the ball away.
Yeah. So we're running a little action here. We're really looking to get Tommy switches down low, like our big man with the ball right now. We want to get him around the basket with, versus like the mismatches, the small guys on Adelaide. Not a great shot by us right there, but you can see Adelaide's just getting tough shot after tough shot after tough shot. Although they are scoring. So they're actually leading us 3-2 right now. We get the ball out, get an open 2. And then we get the foul. So like you can see what we're really emphasizing here. I want you guys to notice is every time we get the rebound, we're kicking the ball out through the pass. We're not trying to dribble the ball out. We're trying to move the ball through the pass, get it cleared as soon as possible so we can take advantage of that on the other end. Levi ties it up. You can see we're pressuring Adelaide, trying to make it tough on them to bring it out. They're dribbling the ball out as well. They get a ball screen. We switch it. Tough shot. Having a little bit of issues rebounding the ball here. They get another shot, eventually hit it. They go up 5-3.
Notice how they're not worried, though. That's a big thing with you guys. You're making them work defensively and staying cool, calm. You know those points are going to come. They just hit a couple twos. You might be thinking, oh, we should be winning this, but you still stay very cool and collected, which is it's really cool to watch your team with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get the turnover there. We're kind of a little bit sloppy at the beginning of this game. You can see just like no one else is moving aside from the one player. And he actually scores it, which is just a testament of how talented he is. Like he's a really good player, but even a really talented player will not beat a well-oiled 3-on-3 squad that's working together. And that's what you're going to see in this video. That's why I wanted to watch this one today.
Getting Tommy the ball seems to be working to draw fouls as well, which that's personnel recognizing, right?
Yep. Yeah, you want to just try and like isolate matchups, right? Like find good matchups, attack those matchups, get as much ball movement as you can as possible. You can see again, like Adelaide's playing a lot with the off the dribble. They get a drive, forcing them to make an extra pass, and then they get no bucket. They get a shot clock violation. One thing I said on the weekend to these guys actually in this tournament, like to Adelaide when they were talking to us after the tournament, is I just, to illustrate like the point that I'm making about how you have to involve the rest of the players on the court, I just said to them, every time that you guys started dribbling the ball and going one-on-one, if I was off the ball, I was saying to myself, like, thank God, like, please just keep dribbling the ball like that so I can rest here on the weak side because I was exhausted. And every time that a team does that, it allows the other two guys on the floor to just get a breather, right? And it allows us to kill you guys on offense when we do get the ball back.
For most of my young guys, when watching the team in black, which is Matt's team, look at their defensive intensity. No, not many athletes that first come into 3x3 have that same level of intensity. And I know that, like, because of your experience, that's something you focus on and you're able to hit nice shots like that. But that defensive intensity sets the tone for everything.
Yep. And even that last bucket, like that last three, so we got good defense there. That last three came off of a quick check or a quick clear to the corner and then a quick swing. There wasn't actually any dribbles taken on that possession outside of maybe clearing the ball.
The speed is huge for our young guys. Again, they're hardly dribbling. Your team hardly dribbling. Like a lot of the points are coming from nice actions, quick kicks, and it's just getting familiar with that style of play. And I guess the challenge is, I think, I'll acknowledge it, you have to have a team that's bought into that same way of playing.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, you got to have a different mindset than you do with 5-on-5, and you're really trying to get easy buckets. So we try and exploit the mismatch, get it inside, miss layup, they get the ball, bring it out. So they actually did a good job clearing it. They hit a 2. I don't know if that one counted, though. I think there was some sort of violation. It's 7-6 right now for Adelaide. They're still winning, actually.
And to my point about hardly dribbling, like Alice Springs are dribbling, but they're dribbling into actions or they're dribbling off closeouts. They're not trying to break a guy down one-on-one.
Yeah, and that's what you can see right here. Like, tough shot, right? Like, coming off of a step back. That's a decent look, but, he misses it. We get the ball, quick swing, closeout opportunity, another swing, closeout opportunity, attack, wide open dunk. So that's just the ease of baskets that you're going to get when you move the ball. And you can see Adelaide, they're getting it. Like, they get a ball screen, but it's a lot of one-on-one. Again, hits a tough shot. So they're still winning 9-7. But you'll see as the course of the game goes on, it's going to wear them down. Like, the foul count right now is also important to notice that Adelaide has 5 fouls. We have 1. So even though that they're winning, like, we've been getting to the basket, they've had to foul us to stop us multiple times. So that once it gets to 7, we're just going to be in a situation where we're getting bonus free throws, right? And it comes into play here later on in the game.
And I'm guilty, I should say, the players that I coach, I'm guilty of saying, don't go one-on-one. Like, don't go isolate down on the block or things like that, because I want them to be familiar with the movement. But, when you have a team that is going to play with that style of movement, like Tommy, for example, he's 6'11". And so he's much bigger than all these other guys. And so they're going to Tommy, and Tommy's a strong, solid post player. And so there comes a point where when you have a big and you know that they're solid, and again, this is the younger guys, you want to balance out that being able to take it in the post. But the post player has to know how to pick and choose when they're going to go at it. Because
the other thing is too is like, look at how, like, so this action right here, we go 3 out because we're hunting like a certain mismatch. Like I'm attacking this little guy here and we get free throws. But I want you guys, I'll reference it again here. I'll bring it up. Watch when we try and get a post up for Tommy. We're not just like, oh, go post up and enter the ball into him. We run an action where we get him the ball to the basket quickly and efficiently, with potentially either his man catching up late or a switch, right? So it's not just like, oh, we're just going to give him the ball down low because he's bigger than everybody. We're actually going to run an action to get him a good look, like in the post, right? So I'll look out for that as we go. So again, like Adelaide gets the ball. I think it's 9-7 still, so they're still beating us. I'm actually going to – okay, so this one didn't count because there was a shot clock violation. I'm actually going to rewind this possession here because this is a really important little nugget that we do when we're facing a team like Adelaide that has one talented player. So when they get the ball out, I want you guys to watch how we're defending them. So Tommy, with our size, is just going to sit underneath the basket and wait for this guard here. When this guard gets the ball, Tommy's going to be in help side, and then – me on the weak side is going to come out to the first pass, and then Levi's running to the second pass. What that does is it forced them to make an extra pass across the court, enough that it made the shot clock run out and they got the violation. So if there was like 1 or 2 more seconds left, like we knew how much time is left, we forced them to make one extra pass, and that is the difference in getting a stop or, them hitting a 3 on that possession. So what we're doing is we're saying our big man is going to sit underneath the key and wait when this guy tries to drive in, and the guy on the weak side is taking the first pass out, right? And that way we're able to get stops on defense. So that was a big stop because that could have made it a 4-point game with only about 5 or 6 minutes left in the game. So Adelaide could have actually taken control of the game in some regards with that play right there. It was really big.
Yeah, it was smart recognition.
And like even there, like Tommy can take that. Like our big man could have taken that, but then he kicked it out for an easier layup, right? So we don't want to take tough shots in 3-on-3. You want to get easy shots. And this guy's just struggling trying to get the basket. And I'm actually going to rewind this one too, because this is like a perfect example of like what you guys do not want to do in 3x3. Now, this guy, again, like I said, he's extremely talented. But watch what he has to do here. So he gets the ball. We get the score. I want you to watch number 13 here with the ball. He comes out. He's getting absolutely hounded by me. And you can see Levi and Tommy are just watching what he's doing, and they're ready to help. So he gets by me. Levi steps up. He gets by Levi. Tommy steps up. And he scores over all 3 of our players. Like, that's how good this guy is. But then I'm coming back right away and equalizing that, right, because we're playing as a group. So even though he can beat us 1-on-1, he beat us 1-on-3 there. That's a tough basket that he had to get, and it's going to wear them out over the course of the game. You can see they're tired already, even though we got less players. The score now is 10-9, so we're kind of narrowing the gap a little bit here. But you're going to see that really come into play over the next minute or two.
So I love that. Levi gets an easy shot because of the screen that Tommy sets. Uses his man.
Yep. And again, more 1-on-1. Other 2 guys standing around. We get the rebound. Now we're fresh on offense. We move the ball, right? Very makeable shots. They get the turnover. But you're going to notice over the next minute or two, because we took the lead here now, 11-10, that Adelaide's really going to start to gas out, especially on defense. So this action right here, watch this. So Tommy has the ball up top. He enters it in. I'm giving him a back screen to try and force that switch. We're not just going to post him up, right? And we drew the foul, I'm pretty sure, there. So we gave him a look around the rim without having to just give him the ball and say, oh, I'll post up, right? We run the same action here again. So he enters the ball. Tommy enters the ball. And then I'm going to actually send a back screen for him to cut back door. And hopefully my guy is going to switch onto him, meaning Tommy has a mismatch going to the rim. So here comes the back screen, right? And then it opens up the shot up top, which we ran out of time. We actually had a shot clock violation. Didn't have a good awareness of the clock, but that action, they're so worried about Tommy getting that lob to the rim that two-pointer coming off is usually open. So Adelaide actually runs a little bit of stuff here, but they're getting swallowed up. I think they actually get a bucket out of it. They do. They tie the game up. We get the quick clear, attack, make the extra pass, and it results in free throws. So you just see like the level of difficulty of our baskets compared to those, or sorry, theirs. Our baskets are just much easier. We're not having to expend as much energy. We're drawing fouls. We're getting open looks, whereas their buckets are like tough. They're having to work super hard every time. And that's the difference in making shots at the end of the game. Like you can say, oh, it just came down to us missing a couple shots at the end of the game, but you were gassed because you were playing the wrong way throughout the game. You were expending too much energy, and that it comes back to bite you at the end of the game. So we got free throws there because we're in the bonus. We're up 2 now, I believe, 13-11. And you can see just tough shots by Adelaide again. We get the rebound. Get the clear. We're right into ball screen and handoff actions. And we're getting the ball around the rim. Extra pass. Tough look here, but we made every player on Adelaide play defense in that possession, even though we didn't score. And now it manifests in us getting steals and stuff on offense because we have more energy. We could see we're playing at a higher intensity level, even though we only have 3 players and they have 4. So we get the turnover, we get the ball back. And right here, I want you to pay attention. So we have a mismatch here. Levi's just trying to post this guy up, and watch what happens. They actually end up switching because they know that we're going to try and exploit the mismatch with the little guy, and they put him on me. And our strategy at this point was just to hunt this guy because we knew that he couldn't defend any 3 of us. So we get the ball fake, attack the rim, and 1. And now we get the free throws as well. Although Levi got a technical. This is hilarious. Like, this is just classic Levi. Like, I'll just back it up a bit so you can see what I mean here. But he gets the and 1. Levi's all overzealous and just like headbutts the ball out of bounds. And they end up getting a technical for that. But it's all good because we got the basket and the free throws. So we get a bucket, the and 1. And because they're in the bonus, like the foul count is 7-2 right now. We're getting 2 free throws plus the made basket. So we're going to get 3 points off of this possession. So even though they got the technical, it's like we're starting to pull away because they're in the bonus. They can't defend us and they can't foul us right now. I'll just skip ahead here because it's going to be free throws for a little while. So Adelaide gets the free throw, the first one. They shoot the technical. Makes it, and now we get the 2 free throws here after the fact. So this is going to make it 16-12 going into the last couple minutes of the game. And now that the other team's in the bonus, now we're really just going to be looking to attack the rim, get mismatches, and force them to foul us. It's really difficult to pull yourself out of a hole when you're down and you're in the bonus because you can't play over aggressive defense because you're at risk of getting the foul and you're just you got your back up against the wall. You got to really start hitting some shots. So 17-12 right now. So that was a massive play. Again, just one-on-one by Adelaide. And then I baited the Adelaide guy into a bit of a cheap foul here, which is pretty funny. I'll just show you guys it. If you watch in the corner here, this is just a little bit of gamesmanship here by myself. You can see I have my hand on him. He hits my hand away, and then I'm like, oh, I'll just put my hand on him again. And he's a bit too aggressive hitting my hand away, and the ref actually calls him for an offensive foul, which is pretty hilarious. So we just get the ball back. So it's another turnover, and the foul count goes up to 8, I believe, 8 or 9 right now. So they're at risk of getting into the double bonus where it's 2 shots and the ball. So he has the ball. He's checking it. He's trying to pull cheap stuff here, but he backs off too much, and we get the 2-pointer. So he's just in his head, you know. Again, tough shot by Adelaide. We get the ball back. I think they score it. But at this point, it's 19-12. So we're just going to exploit a mismatch here and get Tommy going to the rim. They can't guard it. They're forced to foul. And now we get 2 shots and the ball. That's pretty much the end of the game at this point. You can't really win when you're giving up fouls to that level. The final foul count for the game is 10-2. And after the free throws here, you can see we finished the game 21-13. So, like, this is a really good example of a game where, like, you have a couple talented players, like particularly this guy who's speaking to me after the game. Like, even though he's talented, even though he can beat us all one-on-one, they weren't able to actually translate that into a win because of their play style. So I hope you guys just see, like, how important it is to play the right way and how it can allow you to save energy, play more efficient, and beat teams that are more talented than you in some cases. Not saying this Adelaide team is more talented, because they aren't, but in some cases you're going to run into teams that are much more talented than you, and you're going to have to, you know, figure out a way to beat them regardless of, you know, that talent discrepancy.
I think the biggest thing that I can impart on the guys that I'm coaching and anyone playing, and, you know, the more 3x3 you play, the more familiar you get with this, but watching this intently will teach you a lot. And then from the guidance of someone who's actually played it and executed on these strategies is another thing. But I think the most simple way to boil it back down, because I know we talked about your whole team has to want to play this way for it to become a thing, but I know it can be sometimes difficult to get everyone to buy in. And so if you can think, and I had said this to my guys before we went to Japan, I said, like, every single possession, every single time, whether you have the ball or not, you want to be making sure that each action you do is a meaningful action. So you look at Alice Springs, like, there was a great time where I interjected and said that screen Tommy set was beautiful because it allowed Levi to get an open too. And so every single action, whether it's on the ball or off the ball, it needs to be a meaningful action. If you're going to use a screen, use the screen. Make sure that if you're setting that screen, you actually make contact. It's those little small actions that you can take as a player, and you can be the leader. So say you're going into a handoff, you know, you can go and say to the player that you're looking at, I need you to use this. Like, each of the players, 3-on-3 is really a game of actually just using each action, and then the sets and the more complex stuff comes in sort of after that. But if you're fundamentally not going about using each action meaningfully and then making the most of on-ball or off-ball motion, like, most of Alice Springs' buckets came from very simple actions. It was probably 1, maybe 2 actions. There was no real complicated sets. And it's a perfect example of, you know, that's what hooping should be about. And too many young players miss that and just go through the motions. 3-on-3 is not a sport where you can do that.
Man, I like what you said at the end there about just going through the motions, because that's like one of the biggest things you see with 5-on-5 players coming into 3x3 is, like, the first thing you'll see is in 5-on-5, there's so many times where, like, you'll just throw a swing pass and just, like, cut through the lane and, like, fill and replace. You know, like, you do stuff like that where it's like these meaningless actions just to create some sort of circulation on the court, right? Because you have so many players that you just want to, like, have movement, right? But in 3-on-3, like, every action is so important to, like, because it can lead to a bucket so easily. Like, if you just create one advantage in 3-on-3, you can get a bucket like that. Versus in 5-on-5, there's, like, multiple layers of help, defense, and zones and everything else. There's so much else going on that so many times you have these, like, empty movements where you're just kind of, like, filling space and trying to create movement by, like, filling and replacing. You cannot do that in 3-on-3. It's like one of the biggest things I see is, like, you'll see a player playing 3x3 and just, like, pass the ball and just aimlessly cut through the lane and, like, fill to the corner. And as soon as I see that, I know, like, oh, this guy doesn't know 3x3. Because if you're playing 3x3, like, every single movement has to have a purpose. Because even though you look at the court and you would say, and this is like the trap that people fall into with 3x3, is they think, there's only 2 other defenders on the court. Like, there's lots of space. I can just get busy on this guy. This guy can't guard me, right? And you might be right. Like, you know, in the case of Adelaide here, like, to be honest, like, not one of us could really actually bottle that guy up. Like, he was getting by us. He was getting tough shots. He was hitting twos. Like, we couldn't really guard him by ourselves. We could guard him as a team, right? And if you fall into that trap of like just trying to go one-on-one and exploit your one matchup, over the course of the game, it builds up that the other two players aren't the one team that's playing the right way is just not expending as much energy as the team that's trying to just go one-on-one and exhausting themselves. Because every time that team goes one-on-one, the team on defense gets to like relax, put their weight on their heels, and kind of recover for like 5 or 6 seconds even. And over the course of the game, that adds up to that team just hitting more shots, being fresher at the end of the game, having better composure. And you saw that in the Adelaide game. They were getting technical fouls because they were, doing ridiculous plays on defense. We were hitting more shots at the end of the game, and they were forced into frustration fouls and getting in their head about it, right? So I just really want you guys to notice that, and notice that don't fall into that trap of trying to just go one-on-one. You have to move the ball. You have to play to your strengths. And you have to try and create meaningful advantages that make the defense actually work harder. If you make the defense scramble around the court, they're going to be less likely to make you run on defense, because they're going to try and just take the first shot that they can because they're just gassed, right? So it's deeper than just like going one-on-one. It's about conditioning and about playing the long game throughout the entire game.
100%. Yeah, everyone loves to talk about how Steph Curry moves off the ball. I guess 3x3 is a good opportunity to watch these players that move well off the ball. And, actually, like in 3x3, you can be that sort of player. Like, you watched a lot of your buckets that came from your team. Levi pump faking, you pump faking, getting to the bucket. And those sort of kick-out opportunities are huge. So, it's a very big thing to be able to understand that meaningful nature of the game. And I think that's the beauty of basketball. There's always something that you can do, whether you have the ball or not, to get in a good position.
Yep. 100%. So I think we'll wrap it up. We'll keep these real short. We'll have more coming to you. If you're watching this right now, what I would prompt you to do is to watch this, take in all the information that we gave you, and any other observations that you have, whether that be questions, comments, if you notice something that we didn't talk about, put it into the coaching channel, and then we can talk about it as a collective, and we can unpack that a little bit more in a little bit more detail. And then we know as well what to cover on our next film breakdown. We break down some more high-level games. So stay tuned for that. Get into the coaching channel, get active, and again, just get as much value out of this opportunity as possible in this server. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan.